Welcome everyone to the Reignite Your Passion podcast. Here is Andrea, and today our guest is Skip Sands. Welcome, Skip.
Welcome to me. Welcome to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. How are you today?
Oh, life is good. Life is really good. I
Right.
cannot complain. In fact, I can just give gratitude for a lot of the great things that have been happening in my life. And I feel like it's one of those phrases where, and this is out of gratitude, this is not out of like boast or brag, because it's not all me. The universe is just being so kind. I feel like everything I touch is like King Midas. Everything I
Wow.
touch turns to gold right now. And
Wow.
oh, that's an amazing place to be. An
Yes.
amazing place to be.
Beautiful. So, what was a great things that happened today then?
Oh, the great thing that happened today. Well, a great thing to happen today was your kindness, because I was running a bit late, and I extend 15 minutes, and you said, "Hey, let's do it an hour from now." So
That's fine.
that gave me time to do some journal writing and get an extra cup of coffee, which
Beautiful. That's okay.
Americano.
I actually love Americano more than espresso. I think that's the
Yeah,
real coffee, honestly. I
yeah,
lived in Ireland for a long time,
yeah.
and so basically I got used to the espresso. Sorry, to the Americano, and I like it
Yeah.
more. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can, it takes more time. I still make it
Right.
very strong, but you can sip on it, you can
Mm,
enjoy it, it
right.
lasts. Whereas
Exactly
I
like
feel
that.
like, and I take big gulps anyways when I drink something. So
So it has to be a big cup. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Having a little espresso or a doppio that lasts like, okay, I just paid $5 for a sip.
Exactly. That's what happened. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I couldn't wait. Honestly, I couldn't wait for this call because you have a very interesting story. You have a very interesting life full of challenges that I'm sure that create the person that you are, the coach that you are, etc. But, you know, tell us a little bit about you. You can start whatever you want.
Yeah,
And, I know there is a lot to tell, but tell
yeah.
us a little bit about you. What, where did you grow up, etc.
Well, I thank you very much. It's all very kind of you to say. I know you like to focus on passion, and that's great, because I think when we focus on our passions and say yes to what we're passionate about,
Mhm.
that's when the universe says, "Okay, here you go. You're doing what you're passionate about. That means you're fulfilling your purpose. You're doing
Right.
what you're supposed to do." So here are the gifts, the results, and those show up. A lot of people just think it's monetary ways, and that's not the case.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
that can happen, that's part of it, but relationships start to change, and the relationship with myself starts to change. That's when I start to become courageous, and I gain confidence, right?
Right.
Is
Right.
when I do those things, and I start to see, when I'm working with coachees, when I work with people like um, other musicians in recovery, and artists, and I start to see the change in them, and their eyes light up and their lights start to shine again with their
Mm,
passion. That in of itself is, I mean, yes, I love to get money from them because it helps me, but seeing their results is just so humbling. And it's
yeah.
like, wow, just to, I didn't do that work. They did the work. I coached them. But to see that I'm like one little small percentage part of that change is very, very humbling and very exciting. And it helps my light shine. I want to shine brighter,
Right.
right?
Right.
So,
Right. They say that helping someone achieving their dream is actually priceless.
yes, it is.
Is
It
actually
is.
priceless.
Yeah.
So, okay. Tell me a little bit like more like your upbringing. Who are
My
you as a
upbringing,
kid and etc.
yeah. As a kid, um, I was very passionate about well, I love to tap dance. I love to sing from the age of 3.
Nice.
And I was very passionate about music from a very early age. Even before I started singing, there was a song called Mockingbird Hill. My mother would play on the piano or on the organ. And whenever she would start playing, in my toddler days, I remember just starting to dance, and that song just made me so happy. But there was also, and I should say, not but, and my father was a minister. He's retired now, but he was a minister in a evangelical church, Protestant church.
Yes.
And so his theology, not just his, but the church we went to, right, was very conservative. And so, which I didn't even really know any different until I was like 11 and 10 actually, and I started to realize I'm gay. And that was here in America. There was this lady named Anita Bryant, and in the late 70s, she had she called them crusades, and she was going around, the states and telling people that teachers in school, there were gay teachers in schools, and they were trying to convert children to be gay, and just created a lot of fear.
Yes.
And then there were these TV ministers like Jerry Falwell, who was, and this was the time like AIDS started too. They were preaching that gays are going to hell. And so I started to see two very different parts. There was one part of me that was very passionate about singing and singing in church and singing for God. But, as I'm hitting like puberty, I started to realize that I'm gay. And these are two from what I understood then, they were two very separate things. And we never talked, we never talked about sexuality or anything at home. So I was getting all this education and taking in all this information and processing it all alone. And the lesson I was hearing was, God loves you, but you're going to hell. And I never understood that. I never understood that. So I started to live a double life at a very early age.
Okay.
Right. Which was very good practice to become an addict later in life, living a double life. I say that kind of sarcastically, but it's also very true. And so I found that, I was praying, God, please don't let me be gay. I would pray that every day.
Wow.
And, but then I started acting out sexually and I started to look for that validation. And then by the time I was 16, I was bulimic, anorexic and bulimic. And because I just felt like I had no control over my body or anything, right? And so I hated myself.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to get some kind of control. I went to Bible college for a year and a half. Thought if I become a minister, then I won't be gay. And after a year and a half, I realized that's not the case.
Wow.
And I came to a decision that at that time, there were no alternatives. There was no church that was saying, we accept you for the way you are. And I didn't know of any. And I moved to Los Angeles, and I was like, I'm going to come out of the closet. And I moved to Los Angeles, which was about 2,000 miles away from Ohio, where I grew up. And I started to study commercial music in Hollywood with some of the Hollywood great composers and musicians. And while I was there, I was 19, I believe.
Very young.
And I was introduced to cocaine and margaritas on the same
Mm.
night. And that, yeah, so that was,
Love at
you
first
know, that
sight.
that was it. Love at first
First
sight.
sight.
Totally. Totally. And I soon after, I didn't need to be bulimic anymore. I found, it was like, hey, I didn't want to throw up because,
Mm.
I wanted to keep the high. And so that went on. I mean, my addiction took many different forms over the next 20 years. And during those 20 years, um, I came out to my family. I started to, I came out to my family. I started to live as openly gay male. Um, it took a long time for that healing process to take within my family because that challenged every belief that they had, about
Yes.
it. It challenged so many things.
How did they react to it first
Mm,
time?
like I said, it was difficult for them. It
Of
was really
course.
difficult. It was those challenge. Um, but they never, they didn't kick me out. You know, they yes, they were challenged, and we had some very deep discussions, and sometimes they were a little louder than others.
Mm.
But they loved me, and
Beautiful.
so
Nice.
what was funny, not funny, but ironic or whatever, is when people in their church found out. I even got a letter from one of their congregants, one of the people in their church, and it was not a very nice letter. And that just affirmed that the church is not for me.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so I my music always had a very spiritual element to it.
Right.
And there was a hole that was left. I kept pursuing music and kept writing music, and went back to school to finally get my bachelor's degree of music, and I wrote a musical. I started a recording studio.
Wow.
I had a big band for a while, and but there was still like this hole with music, and that's where the drug and alcohol came in. It was trying to fill that spiritual hole, that spiritual gap.
So, I mean, like you were doing music and you were doing also, substances. And what
Mm-hmm.
kind of hole you were feeling? You were feeling with the music, you were feeling with the,
No,
I
I
mean,
was filling
what do you
that
mean?
hole with drugs and alcohol.
Okay, okay, okay,
That spiritual hole that I used to have,
okay.
the only way I knew how to fill it was the specific way I was brought up with that church, and that,
Yes,
understanding that God. That was the only thing that I knew. And I knew that was not real for me. I also came to the belief that no God is going to create something just to send them to hell. I mean, that just
absolutely.
makes no sense
No,
whatsoever.
absolutely.
Um,
No.
I mean, that's not a loving God. That's just, you know,
Yeah, I agree.
so I, yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought.
No,
Sorry.
no. Okay, you said that you were using these substances to fill up this gap, but
Yes.
you said also that that gap was the spiritual kind of feeling gap that was filled also with music.
Yeah. Yeah. And, but the way I used my music before was, also had that spiritual element. I was using it for church. I was using it.
Okay,
Yeah. Um,
okay, okay.
so there was still that hole. And when so during those years between the ages of 19 and 39, I would get a little bit of musical success, and I didn't know how to deal with it, or I become afraid of it, or
Mm,
I was just felt like I didn't deserve it. I really didn't even feel like I was deserving to be a good musician.
Right.
I remember in college there was a class, a piano class, and like I said, people came from all over the world to study at the school in Hollywood because it was like studying with some of the greatest
Hmm.
Hollywood musicians at the time. And I was in a class, a piano class, and all these pianists were fabulous. I'm not, I play the piano, but I'm not a concert pianist. I'm not a
Right.
performance pianist.
Right.
I use piano as a tool for composing. And we'd go around the room and everybody would have their chance to play what they've been practicing. And I'm like, oh my God, I am not as good as these people. So when it came my turn, I would fake anxiety attacks. I'd be like,
Wow.
oh no, I can't do it. I'm just having fake like I'm hyperventilating and stuff. And that way I wouldn't have to perform in front of everyone.
Mm, mm,
I didn't feel like I was good enough, but I also felt like because there was still that self-hate
true.
and the misunderstanding of who I was, that I didn't feel like I was worthy of being a good musician. I didn't feel like I
Right.
was worthy as of being of good of them.
Right. Right. Okay.
So that went on for, I'd have these up and downs for 20 years. And my drugs changed from cocaine to crack, alcohol, marijuana. Um, and then I found crystal meth.
Mm,
And crystal meth, I thought it was my cure for alcoholism. Because I had dealt with depression over all these years.
mm,
It was
yes.
just very depressing.
Right.
And I was crystal meth. I didn't feel depressed, and I didn't even want to smoke pot anymore. And there was a day things really took a turn when I was 35 or 36. And I had a recording studio in the Loop, the business district downtown
Mhm.
Chicago. And there was a day I was leaving my drug dealer's house and
Mm,
I'm in a cab going home. And outside, it's an autumn day. The sky is like clear, clear blue. And the sun is shining on these leaves, golden yellow and bright orange and red. It's just so beautiful. And I'm
mhm.
looking at it and I'm taking it all in. And my thought is, I'm going to close my recording studio and become a crystal meth dealer.
Whoa.
That
Wow.
was right. I mean, we talk about how a thought can change your life, and it's very
Wow.
true.
Wow.
And um, I, what really changed was I took action on that. I abandoned my recording studio. I left
Okay.
it. I didn't even go pick up my stuff for months until my studio
Okay.
partner was like, "You got to come and get your stuff, or I'm throwing it away." But I just abandoned it, and I started using crystal meth full time.
Full
And
time.
I did
Wow.
that for 3 years. I
Three.
went to rehab once during that time. I had a partner. We were together 7 years, and we separated when he found out I was when he found out I was dealing crystal meth.
Right.
He was like, "No." Um, and I went to rehab, trying to save our relationship, but it didn't. He didn't want to come to like couples counseling or anything, so I left. I was there. I checked myself out, and I moved into a house with other crystal meth
Okay.
dealers.
Okay.
So that went on for 3 years. And the whole time, my depression just kept spiraling down and further and further and further. The drugs weren't working anymore. I had to use more and more. Um, and it just became a very depressing scene. Um,
How was making you feel? Because every addiction is more like addicted to the feeling, right? So how was that addiction were making you feel? What
Crystal
was making,
meth in the beginning makes
yeah.
one feel uh, invincible.
Mm,
It
okay.
makes one feel, it releases all your inhibitions. And
Okay.
that's why so many people who are addicted to crystal meth, whether it's male, female, gay, straight, bi, whatever, so many people addicted to crystal meth become so sexually active
Mm.
because it, in the beginning, it like increases, not only increases that drive, but it releases all inhibitions.
Right.
So that's a big part of the story for a lot of people.
Okay. Okay.
During that time, I contracted HIV,
Hmm.
and that's a difficult story to tell. But I will say what happened would not have happened if I wasn't high.
If
If
you,
I wasn't
okay.
high, the incident that happened would not have happened.
Okay. Okay.
And that's my part of taking responsibility for it. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
that's a whole different story, a
Okay.
whole different.
All right. All right. That's fine.
But
That's fine.
I can say, and because when we're in recovery, and no matter if you're in recovery or not, if you want to take responsibility of your life, you have to take responsibility for terrible things that happen. Not that if somebody commits a crime against you, it does not mean that what they did was wrong. It's a crime, right? But my role is I was high. And
Mm.
if I was high, I would not have been putting myself in bad situations.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And um, it doesn't make anything less or anything less criminal, right? But I just have to do that. And when I come to that point, I'm able to find forgiveness for myself. Like, yeah, because no matter what, and most of the time when something bad happens to us, we love to blame ourselves.
Right.
We'll find a way to make it, what did I do to deserve this?
Deserve that.
Right? That is blaming
Yes.
ourselves. And
Yes.
what did I do to deserve this? And um, so just taking the responsibility. And
Yeah.
a lot of times people will even say, yeah, bad things happened to me when I was a kid. Yes, they did. And, it would be criminal and it's not right. But taking responsibility for now means you're replaying that story over and over in your head.
Right. That's
That's
so
taking
true.
responsibility for that is yes, I need a therapist. I need to work through this. That's taking responsibility for it. And then being able to get to a point of whatever you need to do to resolve it. Forgiveness of forgiveness of myself for holding on to this pain for so many years.
Yes.
And so that's so important.
Right.
Um,
Right. And you took responsibility. So, I mean, like, now I can't even imagine. How did you get out of that very, very dark hole? I mean, how did you, I mean, you were really deep in there, right?
I
So,
was, because there was a point where I was dealing, and I would have people over. They were buying drugs, and then they were having sex in the other room, right? And it became,
mm,
I mean, um, crazy sex party stories. And I
right.
would be in the other room, feeling lonely, curled up on the couch, and my thought was, I don't want to have sex anymore. I want to be held. I
Mm,
want to be held. And it was such a lonely place. And I had one morning I woke up and I thought, this is the day the pain ends. I was 39 and I thought, you're almost 40. It's just, this is too painful. Just go jump in front of the L, which here in Chicago is what we call the subway, the L.
all
And
right.
um, that thought was, I had thought of suicide before many times in my life, but they were like thoughts, like, I wish I were dead, or, it was, and then but I didn't act on it, right? This time was like the first time was like, go do this. This is what you're going to do, and you're going to do it today. And having that plan, making that plan, which I'd never done, was scary. I mean, there was something in my head that was, yes, this thought is so real. You could act on this and make this real. But there was just something in that thought and the fear and knowing it was not right to take that action for me that stimulated this thought process of, Skip, you're 39, you're almost 40, and you've messed up 20 years of your life. Anything good, you've self-sabotaged, you've given it away. Just go do it. And at that moment, I thought, well, wait. If we've messed up the last 20 years, what if we do something the next 20 years to make up for all that time lost, or to do something better? And then you'll only be 60, and 60 is not that old anymore. And wow, you could live to be 80. And that blew my mind. That blew my mind, because I'd never seen my life past 40. I never visualized it past 40. And here is the thought that came to me that changed everything. Yeah. Your life doesn't have to be over. It could be half over. And I remember that clearly, because I'm a lyricist. I'm a poet, right? And that line just, it's so poetic. Your life doesn't have to be over. Absolutely. It could be half over. And that was the thought that changed everything. And I took action. And I got up and I called my partner, who I was separated with, and said I needed help. And he called my parents, and they got it all organized. So I got to go to rehab. And this time it worked because I wanted to go for me. I didn't want to go to save a relationship. I didn't want to go to, I did it because I wanted to live.
Amazing.
And when I got to rehab, there was this poster on the wall about the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's, that's just about every rehab center you go, it's on the wall. And I had gone to a 12-step program when I was 21. I knew I had a problem then, right? But I saw there is the word God in these steps. Like the first step is, we were powerless over alcohol and our lives had become unmanageable. Check. I knew that. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And like, okay, maybe. And then the third one is, we turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And that's where I was like, no, thank you very much. I know what that means. Turn my will and my life over to God. I tried that. It doesn't work. I don't want anything to do with that. But now when I went to rehab, I look back on it, and that moment when I had that thought, your life doesn't have to be over, it could be half over. I see that as the gift of desperation. G-O-D, gift of desperation. That was when we become, I don't want anybody ever to feel that desperate, but sometimes that's what it takes for us to seek help. Yes. I read on the wall for the first time, we turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And that is, Andrea, that's underlined and italicized on right, as we understood him. And I never read that before. I read it, but it never clicked.
It never synced in.
Yeah, with the desperation and now I had an open mind, and I read that and I was like, wait a minute. The God of my understanding, nobody's ever asked me that before. Nobody's ever asked me what, because if they would have asked me, I would have told them. all this stuff that I grew up with, that I was being taught, that I don't
Right.
believe, that's not what I understand. So, I don't have to believe that to get sober. And it gave me permission to have a relationship with a higher power.
Mm.
That gave me permission. And so the first thing I said, well, I never understood how God could be a man. And I just, no. So I'm changing it to, I turn I turn my life and my will over to the care of God as I understand God, and
Mm.
just left it at that. And
As was your personal understanding. And what is your personal understanding about God?
that changes every day.
Mm.
That
Every day.
changes that a little bit. It's I have I we're learning so much
Right.
about this universe.
Right.
And now I look at not so much of what my understanding is, but what my understanding is not.
Mm.
And I know that for many years I had a God of my misunderstanding. And I know now that there is not some being that creates people to send them to hell, right? I
Definitely
don't
not.
believe that.
No.
Um, I I believe there is a force that created this universe, and it's ever expanding. I don't think we're the only ones in this universe. As much as we're finding it, I mean, everyone knows that we're out there searching for more life, right?
Of course, yeah.
And so then it doesn't make sense to me, God, of my misunderstanding, right? It doesn't make sense to me that God would, that there would be a person to come to Earth to save Earth. Well, does that person go to every other world in the universe to save them too?
So it's
It's,
obviously it's not a person then.
yeah, right. It's, so are we the ones that are messed up, and all the other worlds or whatever, they're like perfect? I don't know the answer to these questions, and I
Right.
don't need to know.
Of course, yeah,
I
yeah,
I
definitely.
don't need to know. And someday some of this more stuff will be revealed. I mean, that's one of the interesting things, I think, when we finally do find other intelligent life in the universe. What are their beliefs, right? And I love. I'm a Doctor Who fan. I love Doctor Who, and how do you know
Yes, yes, I know
Gil?
Doctor Who.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I just saw the movies, just so because of the movies,
yeah,
not because of the I don't know whatever comic or uh,
yeah. The last 10 years, since they put out the new Doctor Who, I love them. And
mm,
but he travels, or she, they um travels to different parts of the universe in different times and different worlds. And it's fun to see, like, on these different planets, that there are people with different beliefs and
right.
spiritual beliefs and practices. um Anyway, I digress.
No, no,
But
no. I mean, like at the end,
that's
yeah,
still, I guess, I believe in science, and I believe science and spirituality go hand in hand. I believe in the power of metaphysics. I believe in the power of manifestation. I've been talking to you about one thought can change our life when we
right,
take action. There is a spiritual element to that.
right, right,
There is a spiritual element of, people call it the law of attraction. I think that's making it too simple, and it's got a um, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about that too, because thoughts don't bring about things. Thoughts with action bring
right.
things.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
We have to do our part, but it does begin with thoughts.
Let's begin with thoughts. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I probably the the material world, what you see, what you're going to touch on the material kind of the matter
Yeah.
that materialize has to be brought up by action as well. But
Hmm.
maybe what it explains, this law of attraction, law of cause and effect, whatever you want to call it, is probably with thoughts, maybe something's happening that we are not aware, that our eyes are not aware yet. Maybe it's starting something with the thoughts through vibration. And I think you actually mentioned the universe. So it's probably, yes, is about this energy. It's not like a guy who is
Right.
trying to pull the strings here and there. It's just like an energy
Right.
that is not, is not judging, it's just there.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. And
Yeah,
we get to decide how to use that energy. It's just like our
right.
creativity. And I get into this with my clients. It's like we have the choice. We're all creative beings.
Hmm.
And this is very much a part of my spirituality here. Whatever created this universe created our solar system, and that solar system created Earth, and Earth created us. And we are an extension of that creativity. And everything we do every day, we are creating. You make
Mm.
dinner, you create it, right?
Yes.
You go do your job, you're creating your resources. Um, you, I I want to make music. I'm creating the music.
Mm.
And so we have the choice of how we use that creativity. And we could create negative space. We could create now so I have a bipolar disorder. So when I say this, I do believe there are medical reasons, right? So I'm not, when I say we create depression, I think there are times we do create it. Now that I have a diagnosis, I can continue to allow the depression be created, or I can choose to go to a doctor and get some professional help from
Yeah.
therapist and
Right.
medication. So I'm creating health that way, right?
Right.
Our diagnosis, um, our diagnosis are sometimes what I see them is because I said I have HIV, I have a bipolar disorder, I have addiction, and I think it's very important to understand that I am not these things.
Mm.
I am
Ah,
not these things. I
mm.
have these things. These are
Yes.
part of my human experience,
Right.
but my higher being, my creativity is greater than these.
Yes.
Um, and
Can you
so
share
current
who is? I'm curious about it. Can you share who you are? Who are you? Not what you have, but who are you?
oh, who am I? Um, I am a man. I identify as man. I'm gay, right? I am a musician. I want to be to the point where I am music. It's
Mm.
my logo is be
Nice.
the music,
Right.
because the music flows through me as me.
Right.
Um, so now I am a coach, right? So there are so many. I'm a son. I am so many things. The important thing to remember for what creates our present and what creates our future, the
Mm.
beginning of that creation is the words we put after I am. So, that's why I became very aware of, like, when I used to say I am bipolar. No, I am not. I am not a mental illness. I
Yes.
have,
Right.
right? And
Right.
and and it's being managed, and I'm really not even ill right now. The doctors call it, I looked in my charts, it's called remission, just like when you're in remission from cancer or whatever.
Mm.
Right now I'm in remission.
Hmm.
Um, and I need checkups, so forth. Um, like I am not HIV. In fact, right now it's undetectable.
Mm.
There
Okay.
is so little of the virus that the doctors can't even see it in my system.
Cool.
And again,
Nice.
I'm co-creating that with medication and
Right.
treatment. But so I am, by doing that, I am saying, no, you are not, I am not this. And um, I see all these things as, if we're on our journey of life and we have an intention of this is where I want to be, even if we're not fully clear on it, um, we're set in a certain direction.
Yeah.
And if we are, once we're traveling down, life has its, you know, it has its moments where we have to pull off of the highway and go get gas.
Right.
We have to refuel. There are times where the car breaks down and we have to come and get towed, and we have to go get the brakes fixed. It's just like,
Hmm.
okay, there are times we get sick, the ambulance has to come and it has to take us to the hospital and we get fixed, right? So there's
Yes.
so many good analogies
Right.
for this. So when we have a diagnosis, it's not the end of life. It's a road sign saying, please exit here,
Right. Amazing.
exit here, get it fixed, you know, do what you need to do, and then get back on the road and continue
Yes.
with
Yes.
this new stuff. So that goes into more of also, I and as into my spiritual elements as well. I mean, uh, people talk about how God heals. Well, I believe that creativity within us creates health. So
Mm.
does medication. Medication is a miracle. It's all these things that we're learning,
Yes.
the COVID vaccine, it's a miracle,
Hmm.
right? How many people would be dead today and continue to die if we didn't start to have that?
Right. Right.
And I know that's controversial for some people, but that's my belief.
That's okay.
And
That's okay.
and
Everybody
I look at
believes
it the
them.
same. Look how many people, the millions of lives that have been saved for. I've had HIV for 18 years.
Wow.
18
Yes.
years. And when it first came out and when it first started and I was a youngster, there were many men who had it and they didn't even make it 18 months. And I saw that over and over. So I know what a miracle it is. And I'm grateful for
Amazing.
that.
Amazing. Amazing. Very, very nice. Very touching. Very beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so transparent. Thank you
Yeah.
for being so honest. Really, really amazing. A hero. And
Oh, you're kind.
you mentioned about creativity. So let's say you got healthier and you came out and then you became a coach because you mentioned that your passion is really to help artists to bring back their creative side in themselves,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about creativity. I mean, what's
Yeah.
creativity really? And why do we have those moments where we all have, even myself, where I don't know, we get into this black hole of being non-creative and we don't know how to get out of it. We want to be creative, but we don't know how to. So how do you help people with that?
Well, when we say there's a block,
Mm,
right? There's an artistic block. We are creating that block.
okay.
Um, and I understand it. I get there. I still get there. The thing is to have the tools to begin to start to work out of it. When I first got sober, I could not play the piano. I could not sing. I used to say I lost those skills, but not looking back, taking responsibility. And I even told you I did not lose my recording studio. I abandoned it, right? I
Right.
abandoned my music just as I abandoned my friends, my family, my partner. I abandoned my music career. I abandoned it. So when I first got clean and sober, I couldn't play the piano. I couldn't sing. And I thought I would never be able to do it again.
Mm,
But I had to be okay with that at that point
yes.
because I wanted to live. And that was the most important thing. And even though I hated myself for giving up music, I needed another source of creativity.
Hmm.
So I started taking art classes at a community college, even though I had my degree, but I wasn't doing it for grades. I was doing it for fun, and learning. And I was able to do something without judging it. If I, because I'd never done it before. So it was just all fun.
Right.
And because it was school, though, I was getting grades. And those grades, the professors were giving me very gratuitous D's, not F's, but D's. And, but over the course of the first year, I started to my grades got better and better and better. And I was like B's mostly, maybe 1 or 2 A's. But the important thing is that I started to improve, doing something I didn't even know about. I started taking stained glass classes. I mean, I loved it, and it was awesome. Cut my fingers a lot, but so that's taught me that if I could take something I don't even know anything about and improve, why can't I do that with music? So I pulled out my scale books, my beginning piano books, and like what we teach like elementary students. And I started playing again, and I retaught myself. Then I went to grad school and for composition, and I couldn't sing at that point, but it was like, I can still write, I can compose, and I'm not a great concert pianist, but that's not the thing. I can write again. And I started scoring film when I got out of that, writing music for film.
Wow.
I went to talk about manifestation. I went to New York for 1.5 years and studied with one of the best teachers in the world. That's a crazy manifestation story. I'm going to tell it really quick because it's a miracle.
Please, I love those.
Once I finished my graduate degree, and I started a master's degree and started scoring film, I was taking this prosperity class at the spiritual center where I worked. And it was about, I don't want to say the law of attraction, but it was about how to use our spiritual energy to create for the good. And we were supposed to do what they call is a vision board. And, but it was not supposed to be about things we want to have, but who we want to be. And to just be able to start to vision, who do we want to be? And I said, I already am who I want to be, right? I'm sober. I just graduated. I got my master's. I'm scoring film. I am who I want to be. I love who I am today. And the teacher was, go deeper. And I remembered someone saying once, your passion comes from who did you want to be when you were 5 or 10 years old? Think about that. If you want to know what you're passionate about and you don't know, just think about that. And I had a very vivid memory of at 5 wanting to take tap classes. And when I was about 3 and 4, my mom would take my sisters to ballet class, and the class before them was tap. And I'd always tug on my mom's shirt and say, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to tap. And she would tell me, she'd put up her hand showing all 5 fingers and say, when you are 5. So I thought I want to be a tap dancer. That's something I want to be. So I went home and I looked for a picture on the internet of a tap dancer that I associated with. So I looked for Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, and none of the pictures fit right. And then there was this picture. It was a modern tap dancer, and he had this straw hat and this suit, and he was just very quirky and very joyful. And that's what I want. I want that energy. That's who I want to be. So I cut the picture out, and I cut a picture out of my face, and I put my face on that man's body, and I put it by my picture or by my computer, and it was there for 5 months. Then I decided, I'm going to move to a bigger apartment. I was still in my grad school apartment, so nobody could fit in but me. And I had this idea that I would put my stuff in storage and go to New York for a month in between apartments and just, see what it's like. And wow, if I go to New York for a month, I could take some adult tap classes. So I looked up adult tap classes, New York City, and up came the American Tap Dance Foundation. And I clicked on adult classes. and there was the picture that had been on my wall for 5 months.
No way. Wow.
And that was Tony Vogue. And I went and I studied with him
Wow.
for over a year and a half.
Wow. With the guy on the picture, right?
With the guy in the picture. Yeah. Yeah. And
Oh,
that's to me, that is, I don't know what it is. I can't explain it.
right.
That is way too much to be a coincidence.
But it's
That is
something. Yes, yes, definitely there is something. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wow.
that I drew that my energy, and that came about. This is what I learned from that. It came about of not trying to get what I want to have. It came about of who do I want to be?
Beautiful.
Who
Yes.
do I want to be? Because everything, if we focus on who I want to be, the things that we need to have will show up to fulfill
Mm,
the needs, right?
I
And
believe that.
the experiences that we need to have to become who we want to be will show up.
That's right.
That's
Amazing.
the greatest lesson I got from that.
And yeah,
So,
before, yeah.
I got back into music
No, I just wanted to
after
ask
that.
you, oh, sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
just one last question. How was he as a teacher?
Amazing,
All right. Okay.
amazing. And during COVID, I actually got to take a class with him again,
Nice.
because of Zoom.
Uh,
Yeah, amazing. I got a lot of, and actually I'm working on it right now because I'm doing a Kickstarter. I'm going to do a new album this next year, and I'm doing
Oh,
a
wow.
Kickstarter project.
Great.
And I'm using part of that story for my Kickstarter film. So,
Looking forward to it.
and I got to tell you, my first tap recital,
Hmm.
for this, and it was for the school. So every class, did a dance. David Bowie was on the front row.
No. All
Plus,
right.
his daughter took classes at the same school. So,
Oh, holy
but
moly.
all these
Incredible.
experiences that I had, started to continue. I'm been on some professional shows, acting musical shows here in Chicago. I had a band. A lot of different things have happened. I started teaching, and so music started to show up in many different ways.
Mm, okay.
And all of these experiences, and I had a lot of people in recovery and so forth. They were coming to me and talking to me, and um, about their journey, and wanted some help and so forth. Like, how do they do what I've done?
Right.
And that's where I need to become a coach. I want to be a coach, because I
Hmm.
enjoy helping people do this.
Hmm.
Um, but I also very respectful of the coaching profession. So I went back to the University of Miami for a year and got certified as a coach, and
Hmm.
studied with people who were coaching for like 30 years.
Hmm.
And so now I'm a certified coach by the University of Miami, and the International Federation of Coaches.
Hmm.
And now I help musicians. I have 16 years of experience of going through this. And so I help other musicians and artists do this. And I do that through group coaching sessions.
Hmm.
I do some individual, but it's a lot more fun when there's a group of people working together,
Mm,
because they get to
of
inspire one
course.
another. And then, finding other sober musicians is not always easy.
Okay.
So it opens up that door as well, so that they can have. So I have one program. It's called Making Amends with Your Muse,
Okay.
because we think about, when I came back to music, when I rediscovered music, it's just like I have a relationship with music, just
Hmm.
like I have a love relationship, or a relationship with my
Of
parents,
course.
relationship with my friends. My relationship with music is a very spiritual element. It's a living energy. And I had to make an amends to that. I abandoned it. I abandoned my
Right.
relationship. Music never left me. I left it.
Hmm.
So there is a process that I have to go through to, and that I did, and I still do. It's, I still have to, um, when I feel like I don't want to practice, that's like saying, I don't feel like seeing my friends. I'm just going to ghost them. I'm not going to talk to anyone, because I don't feel pretty today. Or, but my friends want to hang out. No, I don't feel, and I keep doing that.
Yeah.
Um, so with music, if I don't feel like practicing one day, music doesn't care if I suck. My piano doesn't care. It's not going to stop playing, allowing me to play it because I'm not playing well that day. It's
Hmm.
just really glad that I'm playing.
Right. Right.
It's just like our friends don't care if we are not showered. They want to hang out with us,
Yes.
right? I'm not going to hang out with you today. You didn't take a shower. So, but that's just one element of making
Of
amends. I
course.
mean, there's some really deep work in that. I didn't believe I was worthy of being a musician for so many years. Is that me or is that music? No, that was
Right.
me. That
That's
was,
so true. It's so good to actually to distinguish the two.
mhm.
Music is always there, waiting for you if you want it. It's you. It's just you. For example, actually, I have this guitar now and it's been like 3 months because I've been putting, you know, for next year, next year, next year. And then I decided this year to really go for it. So I bought this guitar and it's been like 3 months. But sometimes I'm really like, I do it every day. I try to put myself in there every day, but I
Mhm.
know I should give a little bit more time. For example, I do half an hour a day. I should do at least an hour a day to actually really get in it. So how do I how do I get to there? Because as soon as I think about an hour, I feel like, ah, God, no. I
So
don't feel
that's like
motivated.
that is you're setting yourself up for failure by
Hmm.
saying I should do this for a half hour a day, because
All right.
you're watching the clock and not spending the 5 minutes that you have. If you have 5 minutes to spend with your lover
Mm.
and that's it, are you going to spend those 5 minutes going, I need an hour? Or are you going to spend those 5 minutes like in deep connection and talking
Oh, I
and
see.
and holding each other and you know spending that 5 minutes with that connection? So
Right.
because when you have that connection, then you'll want more. Then
Hmm.
you want more. If you're trying to connect with time, you're not going to connect.
Oh, that's a good one. So good. Very
So
nice.
your five
Yes.
minutes a day, when I there was a when I first started playing ukulele. I started playing the ukulele when I moved to New York because I couldn't carry a piano on my back,
Yes.
so I picked up an ukulele. And there was, my fingers weren't used to stretching out. My fingers were used to, uh, you know, just going up and down the keyboard. So there was, and the pinkies on could not work at all. And there was one line in a song that I was writing that I needed, and I needed my pinky to stretch out a couple of frets.
Okay.
I spent just trying to get that and building that relationship with my pinky and the instrument and what I was hearing in my head, and just getting all of that to connect and focusing on that. I realized it took me 80 hours probably
Wow.
when I
Wow.
look back, because I would just sit there for hours and just trying to get that one little tiny lick. And what I learned from that was I think, you get lost in time when you're really connecting on a spiritual level.
Mm.
And
That's, yeah. Go ahead.
and that's again, music, my muse, it's very spiritual. It's part of whatever created this universe is an extension through me. And what a privilege. And if we are not giving that, we are not fulfilling the will of creation.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
It is. And so a lot of times, you were asking about the block earlier.
Yes.
A lot of times the block it's our ego, right? My ego does not tell me, oh, Skip, you're so great. My ego tells me I'm a piece of shit and that I'm not worthy of being a musician. Because if I connect with, my ego wants to be in control. And if I connect with music, then I'm letting go of the ego. And and it doesn't like that. So if I get inspired, no, you don't want to connect with spirit. No, I want to be in control. Our ego comes off into trying to look like we're the best, and it acts like we're the best, but it does it, and that's where people are like, they see it and they're like, that's so egotistical that, but it comes off egotistical when we are acting like we're the best.
Right.
But that's because we have to act it. We don't have to, but our ego has to act it because we have not put in the spiritual connection. When it's a spiritual connection and people perform, you see it. You see it. And they don't need to be told they're great.
They're in that zone, right?
They're in that zone.
Yeah.
And that's why we practice. We practice to allow spirit to come through.
That's a big one. We practice how to allow spirit to come through. Wow.
Yeah. Just like I practice, I still, when I sit down to play, even one of my own songs, if I'm playing piano in front of the audience, I don't have stage fright. I can get up and sing, no problem. I can even play the ukulele now in front of people, no problem. Why do I have that problem when I play piano? Because I practiced anxiety attacks when I'm at the piano.
Okay.
When I was in college, I practiced anxiety attacks.
Yes, amazing, incredible, great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And so one few last things, and I know that your mission is to help 10,000 musicians share their light and hope of recovery through 10,000 recording and 100,000 performances by 2030. How are you gonna achieve that?
So I work with groups,
right.
And I also speak, and I'm developing some online courses. So I don't do that by one-on-one, right? That's impossible.
Right.
But I can do that through the groups, through speaking and inspiring people to like, hey, okay, I'm going to get over the fear. I'm going to let go of ego, and I'm going to practice putting music into a spiritual element. And that is going to lead me to record, and it's going to lead me to perform. And that's the message. And if I can touch 10,000 people, then that's my goal. And how do I keep track of that? I have, for my current clients, they let me know when they're recording. Sure. I have not put together that part on my website yet, but I am definitely going to do that, where people submit, and that we just collect a library of people. We're not judging whether it's good or bad. We're celebrating that people have done something. Here's the song. Let everybody else hear it. And then the same with the performances.
Super.
If somebody gets up and just does one song that they've never done before, and they go to the singer-songwriter acoustic set, down at the local coffee shop, and they do a song, great. That's a performance. They wouldn't have done it before.
Beautiful. Great.
Yeah.
What are the 3 things you're grateful for?
three things I'm grateful for: being sober, having the gift of music, having back in my life, having that relationship restored, and I am grateful for the friends and family that have allowed me to reestablish that relationship. One more, I'm grateful for my cat.
Nice.
My cat's Bats. Yep. Yep. You know, during COVID, I live alone. He's my roommate, and it was so nice during COVID to have another heartbeat in the house.
Yes, it is. It is, especially, yeah, with COVID and madness, at least, you know, yeah, with somebody who is just careless, chill, relaxed, you know.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
where people can find you?
Skip Sam, if you remember the name Skip Sams, SKIPSAMS, I have skipsams.com. You can find me on Facebook at Skip Sams. That's where we found each other. That's
Right.
where I do most of my social media still. You can look me up on Instagram. I'm Sober on Stage on Instagram.
Okay.
And I do have a coaching website. It's www.mysuccess.coach.
Okay.
mysuccess.coach, not dot the other. I don't even want to say it because people get confused. mysuccess.coach.
Okay. Anyway, we're gonna put all the links down below, and so that people can follow through them.
Awesome.
Anyway, Sam, Skip. Yeah, Skip, it was an amazing, amazing conversation. I mean, like, it was just incredible to go through your life, or most of it at least. You are an really, really inspiring human being with the strength of a lion, probably, because, you know, after so many years of going through what you've been through, you know, it's incredible. It's incredible what you have done and who you became. So really, thank you. Thank you for all of it. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for helping, other artists and people to actually become the best version that they could possibly be. And so, let's say, inspired others too.
Grazie.
Grazie mille.
Yeah. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.
All right.